Have you ever wondered why some women seem to hold a mysterious power over men? Why certain words, spoken with intention, can ignite something deep within a man's soul? No manipulation, no games, not even trying too hard. They simply speak, and something awakens in him. Something primal, something passionate. The answer isn't charm or beauty tricks. It lies in something more profound, more unsettling, something that taps into the deepest layers of masculine psychology and reveals the secret keys to unlocking his most passionate side. Because what if I told you that specific phrases, when spoken with genuine intention, could act as keys to unlock a man's deepest desires and most passionate responses? And that kind of communication, that journey into the masculine psyche, doesn't come from surface-level flirting or empty compliments. It comes from understanding the profound psychological triggers that Carl Jung himself explored. No, these aren't pickup lines or manipulation tactics. They're insights into human nature. They're not tricks. They're truths. She just discovered something most women never learn: the power of speaking directly to a man's unconscious mind. There's something profoundly awakening about a woman who understands male psychology at this level, because that shatters the logic of superficial attraction, dismantles the myth of playing hard to get, and reveals a brutal truth. Most women don't know how to communicate with the deeper parts of a man's psyche, and most men are starving for this kind of authentic, soul-level connection. Carl Jung once said that everything we deny in ourselves becomes part of our shadow. And many of these powerful phrases work because they acknowledge and embrace the parts of masculinity that society often suppresses. They don't speak to his ego. They whisper to his soul. They don't flatter his surface. They recognize his depths. They're less interested in charming his conscious mind, and more in connecting with his authentic self, his primal essence, his deepest longings for recognition and understanding. And that makes shallow communication seem inadequate, because while the world teaches women to be indirect and subtle, these phrases have discovered the power of speaking with intention and depth. They operate on a different level, a level where nothing is manipulated, everything is authentic, where approval isn't sought, presence is commanded. And maybe that's why these phrases spark such powerful responses, such deep connections, such attempts to understand their psychological impact. But what many still don't understand is that behind each phrase's apparent simplicity is a complexity that fills, that transcends, that challenges the emotional status quo of superficial communication. She doesn't want just any reaction. She wants something that awakens his soul, something that meets his deepest need for authentic connection. And these 7 phrases do exactly that. Maybe you don't get it right now. Maybe you think it's exaggeration or psychological manipulation in disguise. But deep down, way deep down, there's a question inside you, a quiet one that pulses even when you try to ignore it. What if understanding these psychological triggers is actually the key to the most passionate, authentic love you've ever experienced? The first phrase that unlocks a man's passionate side is, "I trust your judgment completely." This isn't just about trust, it's about recognizing. Carl Jung understood that the masculine psyche carries an archetypal need to be seen as competent, wise, and capable of making decisions that matter. When you speak these words with genuine feeling, you're not just expressing confidence in his choices, you're acknowledging his inner wisdom, his masculine essence, his role as a protector and guide. This phrase triggers something profound in his unconscious, the feeling that he is valued not just for what he does, but for who he is at his core. And that recognition ignites a passionate desire to be worthy of that trust, to protect and cherish the woman who sees him so clearly. Use this when he's facing difficult decisions or when you want to show that you recognize his strength and wisdom. The passion it awakens comes from his deep need to feel respected and valued for his judgment. The second phrase is, "You make me feel safe in ways I never knew I needed." This phrase taps into one of the most fundamental masculine drives, the protector archetype. Jung identified this as part of the collective unconscious, this primal need to shield and safeguard what is precious. When you acknowledge that his presence creates safety, you're speaking directly to his deepest purpose. You're telling him that his energy, his strength, his very being serves a function that goes beyond the surface. This awakens something fierce and passionate within him, not just desire, but devotion. Because when a man feels that he provides irreplaceable security, emotional or otherwise, he becomes deeply invested in maintaining and deepening that protective bond. The passion this creates isn't just physical, it's spiritual. It connects him to his most noble self, his highest purpose. And that connection ignites everything else. Appreciative, warm. The third phrase that unlocks passion is, "I love how your mind works." Most women compliment men on their achievements, their looks, their successes. But this phrase does something different. It appreciates his inner world, his thought processes, his unique way of seeing and understanding. Carl Jung spoke of the anima and animus, the feminine within the masculine and vice versa. When you acknowledge how his mind works, you're connecting with both his masculine logic and his deeper, more intuitive self. This phrase awakens passion because it tells him that you don't just want his body or his resources. You want his thoughts, his perspectives, his inner landscape. You're attracted to his consciousness itself. Men are starving for this kind of intellectual and emotional recognition. When you genuinely appreciate how he thinks, you create a bond that goes far beyond the physical. You make him feel understood at the deepest level, and that understanding becomes the foundation for intense passion. The fourth phrase is, "You challenge me in the best ways." This phrase is psychologically powerful because it acknowledges something most women fear to admit, that healthy relationships involve growth, friction, and mutual challenge. When you tell a man that he challenges you, you're not just complimenting him, you're telling him that he has impact, that his presence in your life creates transformation and growth. Jung understood that true union requires the integration of opposites. When you acknowledge that he challenges you, you're recognizing the creative tension that exists between masculine and feminine energies. This awakens passion because it tells him that you're not looking for comfort or safety alone. You want evolution, growth, depth. You want him to be fully himself, even when that means pushing boundaries and creating healthy conflict. Men respond with intense passion to women who can handle their full energy, who don't want them to diminish themselves for the sake of peace. This phrase tells him you can match his intensity. Attentive, warm. The fifth phrase is, "I can feel your energy when you're passionate about something." This phrase works because it acknowledges something most people miss, the energetic component of passion and attraction. It tells him that you're attuned to his inner state, that you can sense his excitement and intensity. Carl Jung wrote extensively about the unconscious communication that happens between people. When you acknowledge his energy, you're showing that you're sensitive to the non-verbal, almost mystical aspects of connection. This creates passion because it makes him feel truly seen. Not just his words or actions, but his essence, his life force, his authentic enthusiasm for what matters to him. Men often feel isolated in their passions, like their excitement and intensity are too much for others to handle. When you not only accept but actively appreciate and feel his energy, you become someone he can be completely authentic with. And that authenticity, that permission to be fully himself, ignites a passionate desire to share everything with you, his dreams, his fears, his deepest self. The sixth phrase that unlocks passion is, "You see things I would never notice." This phrase is profound because it acknowledges the unique way masculine consciousness often works: detail-oriented, analytical, observant in ways that complement feminine intuition. When you recognize that his perspective brings something valuable that you lack, you're not diminishing yourself. You're celebrating the beauty of complementary differences. Carl Jung believed that wholeness comes from the integration of opposites. This phrase acknowledges that he brings something essential to the relationship, something that makes the whole greater than the sum of its parts. This creates passion because it tells him that he's not replaceable, that his way of seeing and understanding the world has unique value. It makes him feel essential rather than optional. Men respond with deep passion to women who genuinely appreciate their different perspectives, rather than trying to change or minimize them. This phrase tells him that his masculine way of processing reality is not just accepted, but treasured. The seventh and final phrase is, "I want to understand what drives you." This phrase unlocks passion because it shows genuine curiosity about his deeper motivations, his core desires, his fundamental purpose and meaning. Most people ask, "What do you do?" or "What do you like?" But this phrase asks something much more profound. It asks about the engine of his soul, the forces that compel him, the deepest currents of his being. Jung understood that everyone is driven by unconscious forces, archetypal energies, and deep psychological needs. When you express genuine interest in understanding what drives him, you're offering to explore the depths of his psyche with him. This creates the most intense kind of passion, the passion that comes from being truly known. When a man feels that you want to understand not just his surface preferences, but his core motivations, he opens in ways that create profound intimacy. This phrase tells him that you're not just interested in what he can give you, but in who he fundamentally is. And that level of interest in his authentic self awakens a passionate desire to share everything, to be completely vulnerable and open. These phrases aren't magic spells. They're not manipulation tactics or tricks to get what you want. Their power lies entirely in genuine feeling and authentic intention. They work because they acknowledge real aspects of masculine psychology that are often overlooked or underappreciated. Carl Jung warned against the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny or manipulate. If you use these phrases without genuine feeling, if you speak them as techniques rather than truths, they will backfire. Men can sense authenticity at a deep level. The passion these phrases create comes from the recognition that you truly see and appreciate aspects of masculinity that are often taken for granted or criticized. The goal isn't to get a reaction, it's to create real connection, to speak to the depths of his being in ways that honor both his complexity and your own authentic appreciation. If something inside you was touched by these insights into masculine psychology, maybe it's because deep down you're ready for a new kind of connection. A connection that feeds on authenticity, presence, and genuine appreciation. And if these phrases resonated with you, maybe it's because you're ready to communicate in ways that create real passion rather than surface attraction. These 7 phrases are just the beginning. The real transformation happens when you embrace the psychology behind them, when you learn to see and appreciate the beautiful complexity of the masculine soul. If this message found you at the right moment, or awakened something you forgot was possible in your connections with men, then I invite you not to keep it to yourself. Share this video with other women who are ready for deeper, more passionate connections. Like this video, leave a comment about which phrase surprised you most, and subscribe to this channel for more insights into the psychology of authentic attraction. Because when something touches the soul, the least we can do is let it keep resonating within us and through us. creating the kind of passionate connections this world desperately needs.